So it was a data analytics project. It was funded by Agora Cymru. It was looking at access to higher education students, comparing them to A-level students, so looking at their attainment post-degree and how well they do compared to A-level students. It was looking at pre-reform as well, so they're making changes to the access to HE course. So it was also to serve as a baseline to sort of get a measure of how well people were doing pre-reform, to then compare later on in a few years' time what the post-reform, how it was comparing sort of to the pre-reform. I've always known about the CUROP placements anyway, because a lot of my friends have done them in the past and said really good things, but I found out through an email. So that's what attracted me to do the CUROP project, is because it was very, very relevant to the placement year I just did at the Office for National Statistics, which was very heavy on statistics and data analytics, and was really related to this project, and it was sort of a nice add-on to go from industry experience to sort of research experience. I think specifically for the CUROP placement, it was research experience, which is different from obviously industry experience. You don't really have a choice in what you do. You go in there and you work, and they tell you what to do, and obviously you get good experience from that. But with the CUROP, it's much more flexible. So when I worked with Andrew, I had much more of a more independent role with it, and I could sort of take it in a direction I wanted to, and had much more say on how to do things, and made it very much more specific. It's great anyway to have research experience on your CV, so project work is very specific, and it gives you an opportunity to speak what you did specifically, how you took lead and how you controlled the project. And I think just in general it gave me more specific statistical skills, which enabled me to apply for the jobs and talk about it in interviews. I did speak about it in my interview, and they were very interested in it, and I think it did sort of help me sort of stand out a little bit more from the other applicants. My placement year made it sort of very clear what I wanted to do, but I think doing this extra project kind of just sort of pushed me that little bit more, kind of made me realise what I was really interested in and where my skills and my strengths lay. The best skills I gained was critical thinking and sort of problem solving skills. So obviously when working on a research project you come across lots of different issues and caveats as you go, and it's just figuring out then how to address these issues and how to overcome them so it doesn't sort of stop your research in its tracks. So my role was more looking at how, so the data had already been extracted by, like Andrew said, by another student, and my role was sort of just to decide how to analyse it. So I could use some of my skills from my psychology background, so using sort of a match pairs design, so to eliminate any sort of extraneous variables per sample, and then sort of my statistical skills from my industry year, so using sort of regression techniques, binary logistic regression was the method I used. I'd really encourage them to do it, a placement year or a CUROP, if you didn't really want to dedicate the whole year. I'd say you learn a lot about yourself and your way of working. It really challenges you in other ways rather than sort of sitting in a lecture theatre and just writing essays and things. I would encourage them, if they did do a CUROP project or a placement year, to really engage and get stuck in, because you're working with a group of people you may not necessarily work with again. They all have different skills, and you can learn a lot from other people you're working with and just get that a little bit of extra experience. I did work with another student. He just finished his PhD, and he was also from a more like data science background, and he did a lot of data analytics as well, and he worked with other systems, so he could sort of show me the work he was doing, and I learned a lot from the systems he used. Andrew was really useful. He was always available if I needed him for any sort of advice or suggestions. The very core of my methods I chose were based off Andrew's previous project, which a couple of years ago, which was very, very similar to what I was doing now, so it was very helpful to sort of to talk and discuss with him why he chose those methods and why he found they were most appropriate, because it helped guide my decision as well. Maybe if I could go in with a bit more confidence, just as long as you're working transparently, you should have a bit more confidence in your ability, because obviously you're given sort of, to an extent, free rein on how you control your project. So I think maybe it took me a while to actually realise exactly the extent of that, and I think if I could go back I would just be more confident and more forward and a bit more pushy with the processes I used. I thought there was a social media Facebook group. I find that very helpful, because obviously mine was a little bit later than everybody else's, so I could beforehand I could sort of see what everyone's experience was like. So I think that's really important to keep going, just because it's a good way to get everybody connected in other ways besides sort of the university network. Yeah, I did do a write-up of all my research. That was very useful as well. It helped me with my essay writing and sort of my dissertation in my normal degree, and also just improved my academic writing on how to display results and sort of explain like caveats in research. So I think it's a huge learning experience, and it does give you that sort of extra bit on your CV that makes you stand out.